What if a car was supposed to die in its very first year, and instead it survived for over 2 decades, outliving 3 different company owners, 2 fuel crises, and a press launch so disastrous that critics responded with what one Jaguar historian described as an embarrassed silence? In 1975, Jaguar introduced a car that almost nobody wanted. It was supposed to replace one of the most beautiful cars ever built. Instead, it looked nothing like its predecessor, cost almost twice as much, and arrived right when the entire world was terrified of running out of gasoline. Sales were so weak that this car came within a hair of being canceled completely in the early 1980s. And yet somehow it didn't just survive. It became one of the best-selling Jaguars of all time. This is the true story of the Jaguar XJ-S, the car with 9 lives. If real automotive history like this is what brings you here, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon right now, because this channel covers true stories exactly like this one every single week. To understand why the XJ-S faced such a difficult beginning, you have to understand exactly what it was being asked to replace. The Jaguar E-Type had debuted in March 1961 to worldwide acclaim. It was fast, it was beautifully proportioned, and it was priced low enough that it shocked the entire automotive industry. Even Enzo Ferrari himself reportedly called it the most beautiful car ever made. By the early 1970s, the E-Type had become a legend, the kind of car that defined an entire era of British sports car design. Jaguar knew the E-Type couldn't last forever, and the company began thinking seriously about a successor as early as 1966. The development project carried the internal codename XJ-27, and from the very beginning, Jaguar's design team faced an impossible question. How do you replace a car that so many people consider perfect? Chief stylist Malcolm Sayer, the same aerodynamicist who had helped shape the E-Type, took the lead on the new car's design. But partway through development, in the summer of 1970, Sayer passed away unexpectedly. The project continued under Jaguar's in-house design team, but the direction had already been set, and one particular styling choice would define the car's reputation for decades to come. Long, sweeping panels at the rear of the roofline, known as flying buttresses. Some Jaguar stylists were uneasy about this look from the very beginning, but the buttresses served a real engineering purpose, improving the car's aerodynamics and high-speed stability. They stayed in the design, and when the car finally launched, this decision would become one of the most debated styling choices in Jaguar's history. On September 10, 1975, Jaguar unveiled the XJ-S to the world at the Frankfurt Motor Show. The reaction was nothing like what Jaguar had hoped for. The new car shared almost nothing visually with the E-Type it was meant to succeed. Where the E-Type had been a lean, 2-seat sports car with curves that seemed to flow naturally from front to back, the XJ-S was a much larger, heavier Grand Tourer, built using a shortened version of Jaguar's XJ sedan platform. It offered only one engine option at launch, Jaguar's thirsty 5.3-liter V12, and only one body style, a fixed-roof coupe with no convertible option at all. The timing could not have been worse. Just 2 years earlier, the 1973 oil crisis had sent fuel prices skyrocketing around the world. And by the time the XJ-S launched in 1975, buyers were deeply hesitant about large, fuel-hungry engines. A car built specifically around a thirsty 12-cylinder engine was launching directly into a market terrified of exactly that kind of vehicle. One Jaguar historian later described the press reception at launch as a kind of embarrassed silence, an unprecedented reaction for a company that had built its reputation on universally celebrated designs. The buttresses drew particular criticism. German regulators were so concerned about the rearward visibility created by the design that they initially refused to grant the car type approval for sale in Germany at all. Pricing made things even worse for the Jaguar XJ-S. The XJ-S launched at nearly £8,900 in the UK, a massive jump from the E-Type's final asking price of around £3,700. Even accounting for inflation, this represented a significant leap that many longtime Jaguar customers struggled to accept. Despite the rocky reception, Jaguar pressed forward, hoping the car would eventually find its audience. The early sales numbers told a difficult story. Production in 1975 amounted to just 949 units. The following 2 years saw modest improvement, settling around 2,600 units annually. But Jaguar's own internal sales target of 3,000 cars per year wasn't actually reached until 1978, 3 full years after launch. For a flagship model meant to carry Jaguar's sporting reputation forward, this was a deeply troubling start. Behind the scenes, Jaguar itself was operating inside a much larger and more troubled corporate structure. The company was part of British Leyland, a sprawling conglomerate facing serious financial difficulties throughout the 1970s. Jaguar's own technical director later claimed that significant profits generated by Jaguar during this period were redirected to prop up other struggling divisions within British Leyland, leaving Jaguar with fewer resources to properly develop and market its newest model. The few updates the XJ-S received during this period were modest. In early 1977, the original Borg-Warner automatic transmission was replaced with a more capable unit sourced from General Motors. But the fundamental challenges facing the car, its high price, its controversial styling, and its thirsty V12 engine, remained largely unaddressed. By the end of the 1970s, the XJ-S was a car that technically existed and technically sold in reasonable numbers. But it had never come close to capturing the magic or the sales success of the E-Type it replaced. The XJ-S's most dangerous moment arrived at the start of the 1980s, when sales collapsed to their lowest point yet. In a single year during this period, Jaguar produced just 1,057 units of the XJ-S, a catastrophic drop that put the car's entire future in serious jeopardy. British Leyland was facing its own severe financial crisis during this exact period, and a model performing this poorly was a prime candidate for cancellation. What ultimately saved the XJ-S was a combination of new leadership and a genuine engineering breakthrough. John Egan took over as Jaguar's chairman during this critical period, tasked with stemming the company's losses and rebuilding both quality and morale. Around the same time, Jaguar's engineers, working with input from Swiss combustion engineer Michael May, developed a revised version of the V12 engine featuring a new split-level combustion chamber design. This new engine, introduced in the summer of 1981 and marketed as the high-efficiency, or HE version, delivered a genuine breakthrough. Fuel economy improved dramatically, with the HE capable of reaching up to 20 miles per gallon on a steady run, a massive improvement over the original V12's notoriously poor efficiency. Power actually increased as well, addressing two of the biggest criticisms that had followed the XJ-S since its launch. This single engineering update marked the beginning of a genuine turnaround. The car that had nearly been canceled was suddenly addressing the exact problems that had held it back for 6 difficult years. Through the 1980s, Jaguar continued refining the XJ-S in ways that gradually transformed its reputation. In 1983, the company introduced a new 6-cylinder engine option alongside the V12, giving buyers a more affordable and more fuel-efficient alternative for the first time. That same year, Jaguar launched the XJ-SC, a Targa-style model featuring removable roof panels, finally giving buyers something closer to the open-top experience many had wanted since the E-Type's discontinuation. A full convertible version followed in 1988, addressing one of the most persistent customer requests in the car's history. The XJ-S also found unexpected success on the racetrack during this period. Virginia-based racing team Group 44, led by experienced SCCA veteran Bob Tullius, campaigned a race-prepared XJ-S in the Sports Car Club of America's Trans Am Series, helping build the car's performance credibility at a time when its road-going reputation was still recovering. By the mid-1980s, Jaguar itself had separated from British Leyland and became an independent company once again, giving the brand renewed focus and stability. The XJ-S, once nearly canceled, was now firmly established as an important part of Jaguar's lineup, steadily building the kind of loyal following that had once seemed impossible just a few years earlier. In 1989, Ford Motor Company acquired Jaguar, marking yet another major ownership change for a car that had already survived British Leyland's troubled era and Jaguar's brief period of independence. Rather than discontinuing the aging XJ-S as outdated, Ford made a surprising decision. The company invested significant resources into further developing the car, treating it as a continued priority rather than a relic to be quietly retired. Updates continued into the early 1990s. The 6-cylinder engine grew to 4.0 liters in 1991, and the legendary V12 was enlarged to 6.0 liters in 1992, increasing power to 313 horsepower in its final form. The hyphen was dropped from the car's name around this time as well, with Jaguar marketing it simply as the XJ-S for its final years. When the last XJ-S rolled off the production line in 1996, the car had been in continuous production for nearly 21 years. longer than any other model in Jaguar's history at that time. Over its full production run, the XJ-S sold more than 115,000 units worldwide, a number that ultimately surpassed total E-Type sales, the very car it had once been so harshly criticized for failing to replace. The XJ-S had survived a disastrous launch, a global fuel crisis, a parent company on the brink of collapse, sales numbers low enough to threaten cancellation, and 3 completely different corporate owners. Each time circumstances seemed stacked against it, something, a new engine, a new leader, a new corporate parent, gave the car another chance to prove itself. Today, the Jaguar XJ-S is widely respected as one of the great British Grand Tourers, a car whose early struggles have largely been forgotten in favor of appreciating its remarkable 2-decade journey. It earned its 9 lives one difficult year at a time, proving that even the most troubled beginnings don't always determine how a story ends.